Hey folks, in the last Cyberpunk 2077 video I spoke about police AI systems along with a chase system that could have been used for gang ambushes and police chases across Night City. Well, since then I've been spending time in the beta version and I found something quite interesting in relation to those things that I want to show you today. My name's Mike, you're watching Deconstructing the Game. Let's get to it. So let's first of all clarify a few things. The version I call beta is in fact the version of Cyberpunk 2077 that was shipped on disc before they ever patched the game on day one. This version is quite rare and only people with the special edition or the day one version of Cyberpunk will have this because after that production line they started shipping Cyberpunk on disc with the day one patch. So if you're lucky enough to have this disc, plug it into an Xbox or a PlayStation that isn't connected to the internet and you can play what is known as the beta version of Cyberpunk. You'll know a few differences in the game, like vendors being on the streets, there's a different inventory list, there's different UI, there's some minor differences that were cut from the game. And that 1.3 map we got that was zoomed out, that was in the beta as well. Now there was actually one other thing that was cut from the game, and that is police officers on patrol in vehicles. You see, most of the time when we see police officers they're in static locations or in the city and they're not even walking around. But in the beta version, if you're lucky enough to find an area with a high population and a high traffic system, then you have a chance of spawning in a police vehicle. Sometimes you have to load the game in a static spot and you'll get lucky and find a vehicle pop in front of you, but other times you have to just look around and hope that vehicles pop in behind you because the culling system in the beta version is quite severe and it became quite problematic trying to keep police vehicles in my sight, especially when I got them to chase me. What I think is going on here is this, and bear with me because this is layman's terms, and as I've said before in other videos, I'm not a programmer and I just play the games and observe what goes on. What I think is happening is that Cyberpunk has a pool of vehicles on file that is being drawn in to populate these high density areas. Now it's trying to populate them with different vehicles and police vehicle is one of them. Now you can imagine police vehicles aren't going to make up the majority of vehicles going around Night City, it's going to be a very small percentage. So I think because it's a high density area and traffic, the game then decides to put in a police vehicle here or there to look like it's going around on patrol. The funny thing is that these vehicles can drive themselves and you'll find that sometimes there isn't actually any police officers inside them, but they will pop in if you follow it for a certain distance and a certain time. The police officers inside those vehicles react very strangely and with no rhyme or reason. If you do commit a crime beside them, they won't react, they won't chase you, and in fact they'll just drive away most of the time. If you get other police officers to react to your presence in a crime state and then you jump in front of this vehicle, the police officers within that vehicle will recognise you're there and they will sometimes shoot at you from outside the windows of the car. Other times, and very rarely, the vehicle will chase you, but you have to be careful because as I said, the culling system in this version is extremely severe, and if you look away from the vehicle for any length of time, that police car will disappear and you'll have to try and find them all over again. Now, I did a fair bit of research on this. In fact, I spent a good few hours trying to get these police vehicles to spawn first of all, and then I found the sweet spot right next to the FF06B5 statue in Corporal Plaza, and that is beside the memorial for Arasaka Tower in 2023. The reason I think this area is such a sweet spot for spawning police vehicles is because there's a couple of police officers on patrol on the street corner beside a police vehicle, and there's another couple of police officers with a mech beside the gardens enclosed in glass. Now I think the presence of the police vehicle encourages the game to produce more vehicles, very much like in GTA when you were looking for a vehicle that was nice like a sports car, and then as soon as you got that vehicle, that car was everywhere to be found. So taking some inspiration from GTA, I got myself a police vehicle and tested if this actually worked or not. Now the results are mixed, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the best result I found is if you just save the game on that corner beside the FF06B5 statue and then constantly reloaded, police vehicles would pop in more often than not, and you could kinda test out your own stuff if you wanted to do that. I was able to spawn in a good number of police vehicles and do different tests. For example, nudging the police car doesn't make any reaction from the police officers driving the vehicle, and you can pretty much get away with it. In fact, if you hit the vehicle hard enough, the police officers inside will cower just like NPCs. If you shoot at the police officers sometime, they will run out the vehicle like NPCs and run away, they won't react. And if you have a high enough strength level, you can even jack the police officers and throw him out just like a regular random NPC, and he'll run away as one. As I said before, there's no rhyme or reason as to when the police officers inside the vehicle will recognise you as a threat, and if they would ever decide to actually chase you. I've only ever got 2 police vehicles to chase me, and that was very short-lived because the system just dropped them out of the game after I looked away. Some of the police officers who did engage in combat did shoot me out the window like the cops did in the Karaurda mission, Rebel, and they did try and get out the vehicle and then they popped back in again. It was very glitchy, but you could see that they were trying to get out to attack me, and then as I got further away, they tried to jump back in the vehicle to chase me in the car. I was lucky enough to follow a police vehicle all the way from Corporal Plaza into Watson, and I was able to get a 1-star level for them to attack me out the windows. But the vehicle never properly chased me, and after a certain time they drove past me, and it was me who was the one chasing them. In fact, I spent so long on this trying to figure out how the police system works in the beta version that I was able to identify a police vehicle from miles away when it was just a grey blob. For the short amount of time I was able to see the police chase system in action, it seemed to me that this version of the AI system was more advanced or further along than the one we got in subsequent versions of Cyberpunk within the missions. Now, I don't understand this properly, as I said, I'm not a programmer, but I think that CD Projekt Red might reintroduce this feature into the next gen version that's highly optimized for the game that will allow us to have police pursuits and the vehicle ambushes that they promised us in the E3 trailers. Don't quote me on that, but it's looking highly likely that this might make it into the game after all, after some tweaking and memory management. And it's probably one of the reasons why the modding community was able to introduce police chase AI so quickly, as well as that 1.3 zoomed out map we saw well before CD Projekt Red introduced it in the patch. Now, I'm not throwing shade on the modding community because they're the ones that are keeping this game alive on PC and they're doing a fantastic job, but it is probably one of the reasons why it was done so quickly, because these systems are already in the game files, just buried or possibly not even turned on because of some weird arbitrary restriction. Just like in the last video, I'll stick a link in the description for Nexus mods, which will take you to the better police AI chase system, which also introduces police bikes as well. There were a few weird quirks because sometimes when I tried to pursue the police vehicle on a bike, when I called my bike in, that vehicle would disappear. I even called a bike when I was standing on top of a police vehicle and the vehicle disappeared again. Now, I don't know why the game chooses a police vehicle to despawn after I spawn my vehicle when there's a whole array of different vehicles around me. I can only assume that the vehicle call system and the police AI system are somehow interlinked and therefore can't be used in tandem, and because of memory management issues or kind of streaming issues, it decides to get rid of the police vehicle that isn't actively doing something or pursuing you. I did try and get gang members to chase me by combating them and then jumping into a car, but they did the same as police officers generally do, and they just tried to follow you on foot. There's not an awful lot more I can say in the matter apart from the fact that evidently there are police officers on patrol in beta, kind of, if they're forced into the game. And it looks like the AI system is a little bit further along than what we got in the subsequent versions. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. My name's Mike, this is Deconstructing the Game, and if you've liked what you've seen here today, you can check more videos like this on YouTube, you can get involved in the discussion on Discord, and you can also check out the Patreon page to check out the tiers, and you can get these videos a whole day early. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.